Today we're going to learn how to complete the square. It's another way to find the roots and zeros of quadratic functions. The first thing I want to point out is right here. Whenever you take the square root of a number, your answers are actually plus or minus. Even if you have a perfect square, if you have x squared equals 9 and you take the square root of it, your answers are actually plus and minus 3. That's because 3 times 3 equals 9, and negative 3 times negative 3 equals 9. So your answers are plus and minus. And you just read that as the square, plus or minus the square root of whatever, plus or minus. Okay, to use this, let's go ahead and try. We need to get the letters on one side, the numbers on the other. So I'm going to subtract 11 from both sides. And I get 4x squared equals 48. I'm going to divide both sides by 4. X squared equals 12. Square root of both sides. X equals plus or minus the square root of 12. Now we learned how to simplify square roots, so we need to go ahead and take this one step further. Don't moan, you guys can do this. 12 is the same as 4 times 3. Take the square root of 4 and you get 2 plus or minus 2 square roots of 3, and that is your answer. Okay, rewind it if you need to review. You want to see what happened with this problem. But we got the variable all by itself on one side of the equal sign, the numbers on the other, and then we took the square root of both sides. All right, let's try this again. If you recognize, this right here is a perfect square trinomial. Okay, this is x squared and 6 squared. So that can be factored into x plus 6 quantity squared equals 28. Take the square root of both sides, and I get x plus 6 equals plus or minus the square root of 28. I still need to solve for x, so I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, and I get x equals negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 28. The square root of 28 can be simplified into 4 times 7. Take the square root of 4 and you get 6 plus or minus 2 square roots of 7. Okay, rewind if you need to see. Okay, another easier one. This one you need to do on your own. I'm going to push pause and you're going to try it. Okay, we have an answer. Okay, push pause again and look at what just happened. All right, you try again. This is a perfect square trinomial. I'll give you a clue, but I'm going to pause and you need to work on it. Okay, check out what happened. Here we actually get a number for an answer, not a square root. All right, now we're going to get into completing the square. If a quadratic expression in the form of x squared plus bx cannot model a square, you can add a term to form a perfect square trinomial. This is called completing the square. Okay, to complete the square of x squared plus bx, you're going to add b over 2 squared to both sides. Okay, I'm going to use this too. I'm just going to put a box at the end of every one of my problems. X squared plus 6 plus a box. Okay, 6 is your b, so b over 2 quantity squared. 6 over 2 is 3, quantity squared is 9. So here you get a perfect square trinomial. Let's try one. There's the box. Okay, so we need to put into this box b, which is negative 14 over 2 quantity squared, which is negative 7, which is 49. So we get x squared minus 14x plus 49. That gives us x minus 7 quantity squared. So complete the square for the expression. Write the resulting expression as a binomial squared. Another one, complete the square. Okay, so in that box, we do b over 2 squared, which is 9 over 2 squared. That one's a little messier, 81 over 4. So in the box goes 81 over 4. But the funny thing is, that's a perfect square, so you can factor it. X plus 9 over 2 quantity squared. That's your answer. You try it. Push pause. There's your answer. Try the next. Push pause, please. And your answer. Okay, last one. You check it out. Okay, do it on your own. There you go. Okay, let's move on to something a little bit harder. So now we're going to actually complete the square to solve quadratic equations. If you could please push pause and write these steps down. We're going to use them every single time. Okay, so push pause. I'm going to fast forward. All right, let's try this. It's the easiest way to learn. So I have x squared minus 12x. I need to get the variable terms on one side of the equal sign. Plus a box equals negative 20 plus a box. Okay, this is called completing the square. What I add to one side of the equal sign, I have to add to the other. Okay, we do negative b over 2a, so minus 12x plus, I'm sorry, it's not negative b over 2a, misspoke, it's b over 2 squared. So I get negative 12 over 2 squared. Okay, what I add to one side of the equal sign, I have to add to the other. Plus negative 12 over 2 squared. Okay, negative 12 over 2 squared is 36. I'll just go ahead and write that down. Plus 36 equals negative 20 plus 36. Now I have a perfect square trinomial. And it'll happen every time. Every single time you're going to get a perfect square trinomial. Negative 20 plus 36, square root of both sides. X minus 6 equals plus or minus 4. X equals 6 plus or minus 4. X equals 10 and 2. We have an answer. Okay, let's try another one. This will get easier as we practice, I promise. We need to put this in standard form first. And if you remember, in the rules you wrote down, the a term has to be 1, so I need to factor a 3 out of this. And then if I divide both sides by 3, my math gets a little easier. X squared plus 6x equals 15. Now I'm going to actually take that problem and transfer it to the next page so I have some room to write. X squared plus 6x equals 15. Now here we go. Plus a box equals 15 plus a box. In the box goes b over 2, which is 6 over 2 quantity squared. 6 over 2 quantity squared. Plus 6 over 2 is 3, squared is 9. 15 plus 9, we get x plus 3 quantity squared equals 24. Square root of both sides. X plus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of 24. X equals negative 3 plus or minus. Square root of 24 breaks down into, let's think, 6 times 4. Let me erase a little bit of that. 2 square roots of 6. So yes, you do have to simplify it, and you have your answer. Okay, you try this one, push pause. Okay, if you can follow through this. Okay, I got the variables on one side, standard form, number on the other. Plus a box, plus a box. Okay, follow it down. Nothing changed here. Went this way, took a square to both sides. Went this way, solved for x. So this right here is pretty much your answer, except it can be simplified. There's your final answer. Okay, try one more on your own. There's your answer. We're going to pause and save this one for later. I think we've done enough for today. Thanks. I'm going to page through so it's there for you, but I'm not going to try this today. We can get that in vertex form using completing the square. Another example, but we will do this later. Thanks, guys.